Well, how you doing? Welcome to my 70s YouTube channel. I got to beef up some videos for my 70s YouTube channel. I only got 40 at this date, which is January the 29th, 2015. I only got about 40 videos on my 70s YouTube channel. That's it. On my other video channels, 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s, and the second millennium, I got like over 200, 300 videos. So, got to do a little catching up. But what I want to do, I want to play the Lost 45s because that's what I'm all about, basically. The songs on Billboard's Hot 100 that did not make top 40, the bombs, the odds and ends. Mark Lansky, January 1971, had a song out, Problem Child. It was at number 80, peaked at number 80. That's it. The week of January the 31st, 1971. And where do I start with Mark Lansky? Lead singer of Paul Revere and the Raiders. This guy, he belted it out with such passion, heated passion, just like me in 65, him or me in 1967, as lead singer of Paul Revere and the Raiders. He also played the saxophone. As a matter of fact, he started out as a saxophone player with Paul Revere and the Raiders early on in their career before he switched to lead singing. Hungry, another great record, Good Thing. They were on the show Where the Action Is back in 1965. That was a Dick Clark production. They're part of an ensemble of musicians that played on that show. But in 1968, Dick Clark started another program called Happening 68, hosted by Paul Revere and Mark Lansky. It was canceled a year later in 1969, but a lot of people do remember that. It's a great show. 1968, You Shouldn't Take It So Hard. One of my favorite Paul Revere and the Raiders records, man. Woo, we're talking about some rock and roll. Mr. Sun, 69, let me. Ooh, not pulling any punches on that record. Let me in 1969, but it got to the point where Mark Lansky wanted to do a solo career. He started doing more production, and he also helped out his fellow bandmate. Freddie Weller did some production with him. Freddie Weller had some modest success on the country charts in the early 70s. Mark Lansky, solo artist, was successful initially. Arizona was a big one for him, late 69, early 1970, and then the scintillating Miss America. Does anybody remember Miss America? Do you remember Miss America? Spring of 1970, and then the summer of 1970, Silver Bird. I'll never forget that record. All over the top 40 radio stations, but it's a lost 45 now. Went to number 25 on Billboard's Hot 100. And The Grass Won't Pay No Mind. Oh, God. Pastoral, lovely. It was a Neil Diamond record. The Grass Won't Pay No Mind. It was written by Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond put that out on an album back in 1969. Don't remember the name of the album, but it was the same album as Sweet Caroline was on that album. And as a matter of fact, Neil Diamond had offered The Grass Won't Pay No Mind to Elvis, but I'm not sure if Elvis ever recorded it. But Mark Lansky did. Took it up to number 44, I think, on Billboard's Hot 100. Didn't make top 40, but it's a beautiful record. And then the song after The Grass Won't Pay No Mind, Problem Child, number 80. That's it. One other thing, I got to tell you this. I just found this out. Although I'm not surprised, the song Indian Reservation, it was written by John Loudermilk. Don Farden had a hit with it in 1968. Does anybody remember Don Farden's? He was from England. His remake, his take on Indian Reservation, it was a hit. But nobody remembers that. Nobody remembers his version. Well, here's the deal. Mark Lansky recorded Indian Reservation, intending it to be a solo project. It was him. And don't quote me on this, but I believe the Wrecking Crew, the legendary session musicians in Los Angeles, who played on loads of records in the 60s, including the Mamas and the Papas, the Grassroots, the Gary Puckett, and the Union Gap, played on this record, Indian Reservation. But it was decided by the record company to put it under the moniker Paul Revere and the Raiders, or just the Raiders, although it was just Mark Lansky and I think the session musicians. But don't quote me on that. disclaimer. But it's all about Problem Child, number 80, January 1971.